hilarious.
Trae Young was recently on Draymond Green's podcast, and the title of the podcast is Trae Young Talks Luka Comparison. And really, Draymond was telling Trae Young, listen, man, you got the numbers, you got the assists, you led a team to the conference finals. Why is the narrative for Luka all love, but the narrative for Trae is the opposite of that?
I think we know why.
It's just funny. You know the picture that's going around with Tyrod Taylor and Jalen Hurts? That's what this is.
You're being rude to Trae Young.
No, but it's just there's a gap, a clear gap.
No, there's a gap, but I feel like the hate stems from he did it to himself in the New York series. He wanted to be the villain. He lived up to that role. He's ran with it for years. Even still, he'll visit MSG. Like he did it in WWE. He came into an event. He was in the Garden. They booed him like shit. He does it to himself where he makes himself the villain, and I don't see anything wrong with it. He's still an amazing basketball player. That's what he wants to do. He clearly stands up to the moment. We saw it against the Celtics. He played excellent basketball. Against Miami, he struggled, but he still had a game-winning shot. He didn't play his best brand of basketball by any means in the Miami series, and he still had a big moment. It's just that Luka Doncic, yes, I'm with you, is in that top 4 category. That's why the narratives are a little different. You're getting a little bit rude mentioning Tyrod Taylor in a similar light as Trae Young.
It's not that big of a gap, but there's a clear gap.
For sure. Trae Young's a top 15 player in the NBA, probably at worst.
But do you think that Trae Young got hated from the Knicks series? Because I thought him taunting the Knicks.
He became a villain after that.
For the Knicks.
Yeah.
But I thought for the NBA as a whole, they sympathized with Trae Young in that moment because there were fans that were spitting on him at MSG, if you remember.
Oh, for sure.
And I thought fans of other NBA teams looked at that like, I'm glad he's showing up the Knicks. That's how I view it.
If you weren't rooting for Trae Young in that Knicks series, you don't care about basketball or real hoops because what he did was go into the moment and ball the fuck out. Oh, listen, I could be respectful of the Knicks and acknowledge that Trae Young went into one of the most hostile environments and played some of the best basketball that we've seen in the playoffs and a first-round series, of course.
I don't know where it starts from, the hate. I don't know where it stems
from. It's the
from.
Knicks series.
I think it's just, like, I'm not a Trae Young fan, but I understand what type of basketball player he is. I think he's one of the 10 best offensive engines in the NBA. His ability to just backpack offenses and lead them to a top 10 unit every year, maybe missing out like 1 year, is astonishing. I think the hate is just because what we've seen in the last 2 years is the fan base completely flip out on Trae Young and rank him lower than where he should be, disrespect his game. And I guess it probably started with the Miami series, I want to say, where people really started to look and see, but he was out there by himself.
And they also just completely blocked from their memory that he went into that Cleveland game. Cleveland was beating them by double digits.
32.5.
And he went and put up a second half for the ages.
Yeah, Ice Trae.
And I think, and Luka, you're sick. Calling him Ice Trae is nuts. And smiling
he's
like
ice
that
cold. I was talking about that game winner. That's why that game moved.
That's why he's your 10th best point guard in the league.
Listen, it's year to year. He could be number one next year.
This ain't football. This ain't year to year. Respect him.
You don't think so?
No, I know so. Luka let's be honest. Luka gets babyed. He's the charming, darling boy of the NBA. He's the prince of the NBA.
Almost a year now.
And it's justified. When he comes into the playoffs, he's elite.
He's amazing.
No matter, every time he's elite. And Trae Young is not always as elite as Luka, and that's okay. You're not always that player. But Luka's the darling boy. He can miss the playoffs, and it's like, all right, it's some slack. Trae Young could get smoked out by Miami, and it's like, oh, this guy sucks. He's never going to be the best player on the championship team, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, obviously, Luka is the darling boy of the NBA. The NBA gets, trust me, I've been a Steph Curry fan my whole life. I know how they treat the darling boys of the NBA. They get a little bit baby. They get a little bit coddled. They get away with a little bit of stuff. But also, Luka comes to play every time. Trae Young has his faults, and that's understandable. But I think the Trae Young disrespect primarily comes from that Heat series and the fact that he's a dog shit defender. He doesn't put that effort in on the defensive end. And people, probably one of the worst we've seen in our era as a guard.
I feel like this is the trend, really. If you are outspoken, if you are actively in interviews, if you're on podcasts, you're leaving yourself more vulnerable to have people criticize you, right? That seems how it is. You don't really see Luka out there really doing interviews like this. You don't really see Jokic, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry from time to time definitely will do it. He'll hop onto the Draymond Green podcast. He was on the Through the Wire podcast. But Steph Curry definitely is a whole different category of superstars that have been catered to or not as disrespected. But it's the quiet ones that really people don't have a problem. They kind of allow their blemishes to be looked over because they're not being vocal about it. But God forbid you're on a microphone. Kevin Durant, although, of course, there's different situations. A Kevin Durant, a Karl Anthony Towns. That Karl Anthony Towns is probably the one that I look to the most in terms of people that definitely scrutinize him. And, of course, on the basketball court, Karl Anthony Towns is great. He's had his lulls in the playoffs, particularly against the Grizzlies. The one that comes to mind, was that his only playoff series?
Or so the Rockets, I would say.
He's
first
rarely
playoffs.
Facts,
been
that's
good.
what it was. But
Rarely been good ever.
No, but for sure. But I feel
He
like
was
you leave
solid in
yourself.
series.
I feel like I've found the trend of people that
He was
go
what?
into a microphone. What did you just say?
He was solid against the Grizzlies.
He was up and down.
He was good.
He was inconsistent. Can we leave it at that?
I think you're trending. You're going to a good thought.
Bro had to
The
save
I
example-
tried to finish it. I tried to finish it, but it's okay.
The example that I would go to debate against it, though, is Jason Tatum. I don't think Jason Tatum's outspoken at all. And this year, he probably faced the most
They
scrutiny.
bro, he went on to
Ever.
Malika Andrews, and he was just, am I wrong? What was that?
You went last offseason. He was with Malik Andrews.
Oh,
MVP.
that's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
facts. Man, I forget what it was.
But the Tatum,
Jalen Brown's the one who said I'm going to win 4 championships.
He averaged
Yeah,
18
that's
points
what you
against
think about.
Memphis.
18, oh, that's solid.
Because he had a 5-point game.
I said solid.
That's like 7 points drop off.
But am I right though? Like Jason Tatum is quiet, but I thought he got hated on a lot this past season.
Yeah, I feel like, because when people talk about players that could lead teams to a championship, Tatum frequently gets left off. He's usually like the cutoff where people will put Jimmy Butler, people will put Luka, but they won't put Jason Tatum. Exactly, yeah.
And I think
It's like,
that's
this
where
is
it
the first
stems from.
time where Damian Lillard has really been vocal and really speaking for himself freely. And this is the most criticism that he's ever received in his career.
That's because he said he would never join a team.
But
and
again,
then
you're
he
leaving
requested
yourself
a trade.
vulnerable when you're opening. Like, just people are just so ready to make an opinion and be brash towards you, especially when for years you've been quiet. I guess there's a certain point when people are just not going to want to speak their minds. That's the complete opposite of what we want.
I think Dame requesting a trade was fine. Him saying he's only going to Miami is where
That's the
people
issue. Yeah.
got issue with. If he would have said, "Listen, I'm open to going to the Nets. I'm open to going to these other
Like,
teams."
what's wrong with him only? All right, yes, there. But like Anthony Davis, another one where he requested a trade from the Pelicans. He said, "I only want to go to the Lakers." That became an issue.
Well, that package
Wha-
was also so much better.
AD also didn't come
No,
out and
I'm not
say
saying that.
I'm welcome to playing for these other teams. He came out and his first idea, his thought was, I want to go to the Lakers. There was no switching up. There was
But
no.
that's kind of what Dame is doing.
Dame,
Other
there's-
than
there's some
saying,
sprinkles.
"Listen, it's I want to be in Portland. I want to run it back."
But then
with
Dame
Portland
talked
when-"
about the Nets. He was like he was
Did
kind
he
of
talk
like
about the Nets,
yeah,
really?
Dame
yeah.
was sprinkling along this trail different hints, and then his ultimate decision was something that was not along any of those lines. That's really the
Trae Young
issue.
also has been to 3 head coaches too, so that could be an issue.
No, Trae Young. But does that have to do with him or the team's like
A little bit of
success?
When Draymond was talking up Trae Young in that thing, Trae Young answered back and he said, "Yeah, Luka's only taller." But I think
all right.
That's hilarious.
I think that's a big thing though,
It is
because Luka's 6'8", Trae Young 6'1".
It's a huge thing.
Like for example, if LeBron was 6'1", he's not the greatest player ever.
Facts.
So
if
wait,
Michael
Trae Young
Jordan
thinks he's there.
was 5'11", no, Trae Young thinks he's there.
offensively, you can understand where he's coming from. It's just that the height just
Offensively,
gives
he's
Luka
not
an
as good
advantage.
as.
No, of course.
It's hard to be
Luka.
6'6" and be a championship best player on the team unless
It's
you're
it's
Steph.
closer than what you
No,
want to give
he's
respect
not.
for.
He's
It's just
not.
that yes, he's taller. He can get himself to the basket easier than Trae Young can.
Everything Luka can do, everything Trae Young can do, Luka can do better.
Minimally,
I think Trae
They're
Young.
the same shooter.
There's an argument
they
for
are. But even although Luka,
Trae Young's a better free throw.
Trae
shooter.
had a way more efficient 3-point shooting season last year than Luka's ever had.
Luka's.
Luka's a better scorer though.
He is
I think Trae
because he
Young,
can get to the basket easier.
as a playmaker,
They're right there.
I can give the edge to Trae. I will give the edge to Trae. Finishing, it's not close.
It's
Luka.
not even anywhere
Like,
near
it's
close.
a,
Yeah,
it's a
bigger guy.
legitimate clearing.
Agreed.
The 3-point and outside shooting, if we're counting in mid range and 3-point shot, that goes to Luka.
Trae's a good mid-range shooter though.
And then if we talk about like a post game, Luka has a legit
He
post
does.
game.
He does have a
Trae
good
Young
post.
A
does.
legit
But do we
turnaround
discount
fadeaway.
that for a
You
point
can't
guard?
discount that.
We
Trae
can't
Young's still
discount that
averaging almost
fast in the
30.
game.
Yeah.
He's still averaging
I mean,
almost
Trae
30.
Young's like
Because I think a
170
big
pounds.
part of
Can't, like-
Devin Booker's offensive game and why I think even last year he was better
Post-up?
than Mitchell is because of his post game.
Yeah.
I
But
think
is
that
that
matters.
But it does. But I feel like that's more of a size thing. You're not a.
It is.
You're not really a guard. Like I'm not gonna discount one person because he can't post up because it's really just a lack of a size thing. Like I don't want a 6'1" guard posting anybody up.
I know you're not expecting Trae to do that because of his size, and that's reasonable not to expect Trae to do that. but we can't also knock Luka because he has a size.
It's
to
a
do
plus
that.
for Luka.
And
It's not
that
negative
plus
for
is the
Trae.
reason why I feel like offensively there's a separation between the two. And like you mentioned, Trae Young has bad moments in the playoffs. Mostly that one series versus the
It's
Heat.
just that series.
Luka doesn't have those moments. Like there's not a moment that Luka has that you could be like, wow, that was a horrible Luka game. He's an all-time great.
It's just that fourth
They've
quarter
both
against the
done the
Clippers
same
too.
thing in the playoffs.
I know they don't talk about the fourth quarter with Luka's against the Clippers either. The first three, he was arguably the best player on the court. That fourth
And we
quarter, he
forget
ran out
Trae
of
Young
steam.
playing 32 points in the second half on the road. That was nuts.
I know. I mean, you could say that they both been to the conference finals
Yeah,
in
they
their
both had the
respective
same
conference,
kinda, you know.
but Luka's had 8 40-point games in the playoffs. He's had 9
no, he's
30
Luka in the
games.
playoffs turns into a different.
Trae in the
monster for
playoffs
sure.
has had 1 40-point game.
it's been tough
Luka's
for him.
had 8 already, and Luka has what?
It's fucking ridiculous.
5 playoff series in total, and he already has 8 40-point
No, yeah,
games.
he's a better
Not-
scorer by far.
he's a locked in 30 a game when he's in a playoff environment. And then what he did to the Suns,
Yo, also, have you noticed that Luka's
amazing.
assist ratio has only gone down? Assist usage ratio has only gone down since entering the league.
Trae Young has also almost never missed the playoffs outside his rookie year.
nah, he hasn't. It's also a weaker conference though.
His team isn't that good.
His team is not that good. Neither
I
is
think
Luka's.
the Hawks roster is better than the Mavericks roster.
It's really not a much big difference.
It's not a big difference, but you're playing in the West. I mean, in the East compared to the
Can
West.
you name another creator on the Hawks?
On DeJounte.
No, he just got him. I'm saying like before. Well, because he has Kyrie, so if we're gonna play that card,
No. I can't name another creator.
Oh.
You can't name a starting center for the Mavericks.
It
Clint Capella?
used to be Kristaps.
No, for the Mavs.
oh,
Yeah, it used to
oh,
be
yeah,
Kristaps.
No. It did used to be Kristaps.
Uh,
Kristaps Capella.
JaVale really
was
was
difference.
bad last year.
Last
so
I think
understood.
3 seasons though, it's been last 2 seasons.
Well, bro, you were talking
it
up
has
Christian
been.
Wood. What happened?
Ah,
Well, listen,
you said better than
You
Pascal.
know, he
Cameron
flopped.
went.
What can I say? He flopped. What can I say?
Okay,
I can't say nothing. That's not a good starting center though. It's
yeah,
not.
It's
I mean,
not, no.
a center isn't
The Hawks got 2 of them. If we're being realistic,
Onyeka.
yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, that's. Yeah,
I think the
they also
Hawks.
have John Collins.
Yeah, I think the Hawks just win in the depth department. I think they have more depth. Like, there's more good NBA players on their team.
But now it's a clearing.
They have the same.
What do you mean?
The Mavs clearly have a better team than the Hawks right now.
It's close, man. But Luka's so good. That,
Wait a
you
minute,
know,
wait,
he can do what he does.
It's not. It's not.
He
close
just said
at
that
all.
the team can go to the NBA Finals, and he's saying that it's close. Yep. So the Hawks can go to the NBA Finals.
No, I didn't say that.
That's what you just said.
I didn't say that.
No, bro, that's what you just said.
How did I
By
say
the
that?
transitive property.
How did I say that?
Here we go.
Nah,
You
it's
want to know
not
how?
between the Hawks and Mavs. It's not close. Whose roster's better?
Is it me?
I
Nah,
did.
he's bugging out.
Is it? It's
He's
me.
bugging out.
Did I just?
What do you think the Hawk? Who's roster?
The
The
Mavs.
Mavericks.
Pretty
Mavericks.
comfortably.
You
Pretty
just said it's
comfortably.
similar, but Lucas, what are you
And
doing?
he also
Like
said
tears.
that the Mavericks could go to the championship to beat
They
the
can come out the
Denver
West.
Nuggets.
If they get Clint Capella,
But you're
they can
saying
do
it's
it.
keep
close.
talking about if they get this
Then the
Clint guy.
Hawks should be.
Yeah, Clint Capella
PCF
kills me. I'm not gonna lie.
Clint Capella. You know what? I'm gonna look up.
That's
his
not
numbers.
why. I don't think the Hawks are at that level because their stars can't match up with the other top stars in the
Fact.
East. That's why.
It's a fact.
How you figure?
Trae Young not gonna outperform Giannis, bro. He's not gonna outperform Tatum. He's not.
He was right there though.
But
when
he's
they
not
played.
gonna. Ultimately, he's not gonna outperform him though. Where Luka can be on par with any star that he faces in the playoffs.
But that's not the end all be all. Trae Young may not outperform a star, but he can uplift a team.
But they also
to where
don't
they
have the,
can be
they
in
don't
the
have the
conversation.
depth to outperform the Celtics depth, for example.
They was in it.
Yeah, they had one game winning shot.
Like, remove-
1-6.
Okay,
Right.
remove Luka and Kyrie and remove Trae and DeJounte. And then we just look at the rosters. You're not telling me the Hawks one is better?
Are you fucking serious?
No, I'm being dead ass with you, bro. No, I'm being so serious with you.
Yo, you're not serious.
I'm being so serious with you.
You
Clint
just
Capella, Onyeka,
stop with this. Stop saying
DeAndre
Clint's name
Hunter.
first. DeAndre Hunter's okay. He's him and Josh
AJ
Green on the
Griffin,
same level.
AJ Griffin.
AJ
Jalen
Griffin's good.
Johnson.
Jaden Hardy is just as good as AJ Griffin. And you
on the
know
other
that.
side, you got Grant,
DeAndre Hunter and Josh Green are the same player.
Lively.
Bogdanovich.
He's good.
Trae Young was so fucking dumb against you guys.
Nah, he
Sadiq
was
Bey?
tweaking, especially those last I think game 1 or
Remember
2
Tim
he
Hardaway
struggled,
Jr.?
but the last 4 games he was OD.
DeAndre Hunter's better than Tim Hardaway Jr. though.
No, but DeAndre Hunter's
Tim
the same
Hardaway
as
Jr.
Josh
is
Green.
probably like their third, fourth best player.
DeAndre Hunter and Josh Green are the same player.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's where they cancel out. The only thing you have is center depth, and you
Jalen
believe in
Johnson.
Lively because that's why you have them possibly
Jalen
come out the
Johnson?
West. What?
Jalen Johnson.
You're not serious.
You don't like Jalen Johnson?
We don't know yet, bro.
You don't, but we seen him in minutes last year, spot minutes last year.
Solid.